All right. So welcome to episode 2 of the Canadian Basketball Performance Podcast. My name is Kevin Wilson, and I'm extremely excited to keep this thing rolling. We had a great episode 1, so looking forward to this one. For those new to our platform, the Canadian Basketball Performance Network, or CBPN, aims to elevate athlete care and physical development across Canada while also mentoring the next generation of medical and performance professionals. We have educational conferences, mentorship cohorts, career growth opportunities, and networking events, all designed to help attendees grow. Our Canadian Basketball Performance Conferences will take place virtually on February 8th, 2026 for high school athletes, and on March 14th, 15th, 2026 for medical and performance professionals. That includes ATs, PTs, strength coaches, sports scientists, etc. Big shout out to our sponsors for that. And to learn more about everything that we have to offer through the CBPN, you can visit thecbpn.com. That said, we have a very, very special guest for episode 2, Matias, someone who I've honestly have known for the past 10
forever, yeah, plus 10 plus
10 plus years. 10 plus years.
NBL was like 2013, 2014. So.
But yeah, just someone who I've honestly truly respected over that whole course of time. For those that don't know who I am, or my background, former G League and NBA strength and conditioning coach with OKC Thunder and LA Lakers, currently leading the CBPN initiatives and also supporting Canada basketball with strength and conditioning. But with all that said, Eric, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no man, this space is phenomenal, and I'm gonna get a somewhat of a tour going on this podcast so people can see it visually. But your background, your resume is super extensive. Obviously, we've known each other for a while, so I know what some of those humble beginnings looked like.
Yeah.
But just walk people through, those who don't know who you are.
When we think about it, 2013, so now 12 plus years doing this kind of thing. I was very fortunate to kind of get my start similar to where you were with NBL Canada when they were doing things. And when I really trace it back, it was one conversation with one person at the right time changed everything. I remember it was end of a Raptors youth camp, Raptors Basketball Academy. So shout out to everybody there. And as you know, with any camp, end of the week, you're just burnt out, you're exhausted. You want to get the heck out of there and go home. But they had said, if anyone can stay and help clean up, please clean up. If not, it's all good. So I stayed, cleaned up, and I was walking out with Courtney Charles, just chatting. Shout out Courtney Charles. And he just said, so what's next for you, E? And I said, I have no idea. I had just done a basketball referee camp to maybe do that. I just knew I wanted to stay close to the game somehow. And knowing what it takes to be a ref and knowing me, that would not work. As a ref, someone's always going to think you have the wrong call. I like making people happy. So if you told me I got the wrong call, I'll probably believe you. So it wasn't going to work. But he said, you should look up the Brampton A's. They might have something for you. So I went home, took a nap, woke up, looked it up, and kind of the rest is history after that. Emailed the people, got interviewed, got brought on with NBL Canada with Brampton A's. They were just starting up, helped with NBL draft combines, and it was in the roof of Athlete Institute in Orangeville. And so they had Orangeville prep. And so I just kind of worked my way in there. They asked me to do more, working with the prep side, working with the two teams. And at first, as an AT, they just think, a lot of people just think we give ice and do first aid. But obviously, I was doing my treatments and stuff on the court side, and that just kind of grew. They wanted me to do more. So my day looked like morning treatment with the pro team, practice, more treatment with the pro team. Then I was doing the external clinic to seeing patients from the community. Then when school was out, I was with the first prep team, treating them, covering their practice. Then I was with the next prep team. And then a couple years after that, they added the soccer academy. So I was just doing everything there. It was a lot of work. And I was there for 4 years, probably 4.5. And it really accelerated my development, getting my hands on bodies every day, day in, day out. And looking back on it now, actually, I think it really built the foundation for my capacity to pursue entrepreneurship now, because I thought I was at my limits at points, and there was, nope, I can do a little more. And even just kind of running their clinic, it was, I didn't ask to do that, but I was doing it. And then it actually prepared me for when I was starting my own thing. I was like, oh, I've kind of already navigated this a bit. And it also kind of helped me build the foundation of my network that circled back when I was doing my own thing. Because when I was building my own business, obviously having the word of mouth referrals, trainers, coaches, players were still coming to find me. They were referring other people. It all just kind of grew from there. So in between that, when I had left Orangeville, I started doing some private practice stuff, like in other clinics. And I just kind of grew frustrated, to be honest. Like, I don't know, I wasn't aligned with the private practices that were around typically. Like, maybe it's because they weren't super athlete focused, but I think in general, a lot of the mindset is let's give some relief and let's have them keep coming back for business. Whereas that doesn't fly with me. I don't want to see people hurt. Like, I don't want them to keep coming back. I don't want temporary relief. Even if you give temporary relief, if they have to go back and perform, it's not going to last. They gotta put loads on their body, and they can't just feel good for the moment. So, yeah, it kind of just became me saying, okay, I'll just do my own thing. So I started in my parents' basement, with just a fold-out portable table and a desk, an old desk as my front desk, and my parents' old futon couch. That was their first bed when they moved from the Philippines. That was my waiting chair, and ran with that. And also during that process, I got a job with Humber College, working as a part-time athletic therapist in the clinic there. So I was there for 5 years, doing the part-time thing and building my own thing. And then, yeah, it just kind of got to the point where it made sense to take the leap. I was really busy. And then that was when some NBA or an NBA client, I can say names, yeah. So sure. Like Jamal Murray wanted me to come out. And if I were to travel and leave all the people that are relying on me, I felt really bad. So I was like, I need to put a team together and make this thing work. So it just kind of grew, kept growing. Like it was never the original plan. I wanted to work in the league and make it to work with a team. And it's kind of crazy how things play themselves out. But, you know, I'm blessed to kind of get to this point. But yeah, I hope I answered the question. I kind of went on a tangent.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect, because it segues into like every question that I have on this page. So going back to, you mentioned like early days, NBLC,
yes,
National Basketball League of Canada, for those unaware. And I think of my early beginnings as well, and everything was just unpaid or low pay, especially in Canada, right? And a lot of listeners from Canada can you know, understand that, but a lot of students coming up in the Canadian system, like that's what they can expect, right? And things are a bit better now. Yeah, probably much better now. Yeah, especially with like the CEBL. I know they run things pretty well over there. But just walk through like the mindset that you had in those early stages, like your willingness to do stuff for free for anybody, just grow your resume, like just walk through that. Yeah, it was. I hope, and I'm pretty sure it's better now than when we were in it. Like, but at those early days when basketball was very new, like having a prep team was very new. Now there's hundreds of prep teams, but at the time it was like, this was the one. So yeah, there was a lot of, you know, people lining up to do these jobs, and it wasn't super paid. It wasn't paying a lot or not at all. Or, I think it started off just kind of being, I was fresh out of school. Hey, I'm just happy to like do work in a field that I love. Obviously that wears off and then it becomes, wait a minute, I'm doing a lot for not much. But I think you just kind of have to understand that there are inherent sacrifices when you want to be great at something. And you're going to have to make those sacrifices. And that's just something I had to put my complete faith and trust in, like that it's going to bear fruit down the line at some point, that if I just put my head down, work, do what I got to do and do it well, someone or some place around the way is going to see that and then reward you as you should and give you what you need. With that said though, like I'm years and years into this and I'm like just starting to see it bear some fruit. Like, so it's been a tough path, but Yeah.
when you align yourself with something you feel strongly about and you're passionate about, and along my way, I just feel like it's something I've been called to do. It's worth it. It's worth it. So
yeah, and I like, again, people listening always have that goal of like be on the team side, right? Like get to the NBA, be on the team side, be an AT for whoever. But again, like episode 1 featured Nem Illich, who now works with Shea, thriving in that private sector. You obviously thriving in this private sector. Like that's a great pathway as well, right? And that kind of segues into the next question of like, your background is so strong when it comes to working with Canadian NBA guys, right? In that setting, right? Jamal Murray, Eugene Omoruyi, Nick Stauskas, Thon Maker, like the list goes on. And coming through the door, you see all the names on the wall, right? How did that start for you? And how has that process been since getting into that world?
Yeah, I've been kind of super lucky. Like starting in Orangeville, that's where I met most of these guys, like when they were 15 and 16, and we just kind of built a relationship from there. And so when they needed things, I was the one they thought of. So they trusted me, and I delivered. I remember with Thon, when he was doing pre-draft stuff, that was kind of the first time I was like, oh, you want to fly me out somewhere? This is kind of cool. I must be doing pretty good. I must be good at what I do, because I was going to different cities with him for pre-draft. And then, yeah, even with Eugene, every summer, every break, he would want to work with me extensively. So I was kind of lucky, kind of building a relationship with them from young. But there was like the Nick Stauskas where I didn't have that previous relationship. And I remember it was just through David Tyndale, his trainer, good friend of mine. Shout out David Tyndale. Someone I is a very close friend. He kind of told me, hey, this is who I'm working with. And he's dealing with some ankle stuff and some knee stuff, whatever he was dealing with. I can't remember anymore. I drove myself 7.5 hours to Philly for the opportunity to meet a guy for the first time and help him out. And I did that, and thankfully, again, I did a good job. And after that, he had me come out again, and then brought me out to wherever he was at. And yeah, so it started with them, and then thankfully, like if you do good work, people tend to tell other people. So yeah, it just kind of, I kept getting messages from saying, hey, I got your number from this person. Can you help me with this and this? And it's grown. So now I've worked with a lot of pros, Canadians who are overseas, guys who are kind of on their way to becoming pros. It's been really rewarding to be able to see, players who I've known from when they were teenagers or kids, I would say, to become men, and what they do with their career. It's been amazing and super fulfilling, and yeah, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, and the list is long. Like I didn't even realize how many people it was. I think back to when we were those guys coming up, new grads, students, whatever, and it's just like, I didn't know many Canadians, if any, doing what we did at a super high level, or any even like in the league. Like I knew of some with Canada basketball. Shout out to the guys with the Raptors. They've been there for a while and I've known them, but there wasn't much, right? So to be able to highlight you and everything you've accomplished, like that, I think that's super important for me, knowing that a third-year university student is going to hear this and be like, wow, like I want to aspire to be that, right? Or like some form of that. So no, man, shout out to you for all that. I
appreciate that.
Just going off of trust, right? So we talked about all these guys. Trust is obviously a big thing. And you touched on it as well, like players wanting to come back to you, like that's a good feeling. And Nem talked about that in episode 1, like Shea wanting to come back for that second summer with him is like a great feeling. How do you establish that trust with those players specifically, but then also in like general population? How do you apply those same principles to them? Yeah,
the trusting is huge. And again, I was a little lucky knowing them from young, so they already trusted me. But even that, it's a fragile thing, even that trust. I'm not gonna lie. There was a point where I was like, I don't know if Jamal really rocks with me anymore. But then he hit me up after months of not hearing from him. Hey, can we do this? Oh, cool. You still like me? I was just like, it's a good feeling. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, the way that I approach it, and I've learned to approach it, is treat them like they're regular people. And yeah, I've had that relationship, so we know each other, but I have to continue to, regardless of how high he's getting, that's just my guy. That's just the same 15, 16-year-old guy that I remember we used to crack jokes with or whatever. And I think they feel comfortable when you're comfortable and not seeing them in a different kind of light. And I think I've learned to take that approach even in private practice. Like when I'm seeing a grade 9 kid and he wants to make his high school team, that's just as important. If that's your goal, that is just as important as Jamal trying to get a championship. Like I'm going to treat you with the same respect and energy and focus as that. And I think once people see that you really care, it's like, oh man, like this guy really cares. Like, I'm not just another person showing up. Or I'm not just, don't look at the person as an ankle or a knee or whatever you're dealing with. Like look at the person as a whole and see what their goals are, what they're about. Understand that there's a bigger picture at play. There's parents, support systems, agents. Like there's so much at play. If you can respect all that and people will feel that energy that you understand me, okay, we can do this together.
Yep.
I think that's super important. And yeah, I think obviously from working with an NBA player and my kind of client here, the specifics are different of what we're doing and how long the sessions are lasting, but the approach and the mindset is the same. And I think when people know you care and they know, and you have to be good. That's the other part. You have to be good at what you do. But you combine those two things because the reality is they're spending a lot of time with you. It's an hour at minimum. And you're in intimate spaces when you're treating. We're this close to each other. Like, and if we're in the weight room, we're talking in between sets. Like you have to kind of just be a good person to hang out with too, you know, because there's a lot of trust that's built off of liking the person outside of just the specifics. So yeah, I think I've been able to thankfully maintain that trust because of how I treat them. They know I really care. They know I'm good at what I do, and they enjoy, it's a good energy and we enjoy spending time together. Yep. So, and the results are a byproduct of that.
Yep. And that, I did not send you this question ahead of time, but when thinking about like, it's a fact, like you have to be good at what you do, right? So when you think about like continuing education, like where do you go for, inspiration or just knowledge, or like where are some things that you're trending towards? And maybe things that you've gone to in the past that you've, continue still go to?
For sure. I try to be very open. I think that's what's worked for me. When finding the right techniques, I feel like there's a lot of tools out there and some tools might be better for one person and not good for another person. You know what I mean? So like even before kin and everything, like I was doing radio and television arts and English in school as a double major for 2 years. I was a DJ, I was dancing. Like I try to bring that like artistic creative approach to the science that we have here. So yes, there's anatomy, but then there's so much more around the anatomy and the science of what we have. So I try to be very open, and thankfully I've met a lot of good people like yourself and been around other strength coaches, therapists, trainers, and I just try to like learn from each of them and bring something with me and then try different things and use that where it could fit. So where I tend to land is I love the power of manual therapy. I love using my hands to feeling tissue and working with that. And I love neurofunctional acupuncture and
gotta guess.
Salud. I love neurofunctional acupuncture. I found I was getting a lot with my hands. And this is back when I was in Orangeville working with 3 teams in the day. I had to put my hands in the cold tub because my fingers were just aching, my joints were aching. And there was always a little bit, I think, that was accomplished with neurofunctional acupuncture. That like completed the picture for me. My hands can do all the physical things. The neurofunctional acupuncture can get in and affect the nervous system. You put those things together, it's kind of like a 1 + 1 = 3 kind of thing. Like as a standalone, acupuncture is cool. As a standalone, manual is very good, but you put them together and boom, we have like a really good result. And then you take the power of exercise, which is why I've shifted a little more into the strength and conditioning aspect. Because now that's where I feel you can really make permanent change and fix things, and whether it's mechanics or reinforce the changes you made on the table through exercise. Now this muscle is working a little bit better. Okay, let's train that so that can become your dominant pattern. Your brain knows to use that muscle. because it hasn't for X amount of time. So when you combine those three things, I think it's super effective. So that's what I tend to fall to. But yeah, like I said, there's a lot of different tools under that I might use depending on the person and their history and what they've gone through and how their body is responding to things. So having that blueprint, having a set of tools, and just being open to what may work, because I feel like not every injury is the same, like reacts the same depending on the person.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and we'll get into the neurofunctional acupuncture for sure. But I want to touch on that last point you made. So you've seen players like Jamal Murray from like 14, 15 years old all the way up to where he is now, and you've seen like you've seen him physically develop, obviously, over the years, right? So I know you might see him a few times in the year, right? Like you're not with him constantly. So how often are you like reassessing? I'm assuming every time you see him, but like reassessing movement quality, motor control patterns, joint integrity, things like that. And how do you determine when something needs like quote unquote fixing versus like, okay, this guy's a pro, he's making millions of dollars, thriving, NBA champion, like let's just keep it what it is. Yeah,
with Jamal, like when we get together, the days are long. Like it's not like when someone books in here and with them for an hour 15, we're on the table for like 3 to 4 hours. Like then we take a break because I need a break, and then we go in the weight room and then we're there for another few hours. So it's like full days. And if he's on court, I'm there watching how he's moving. And because I am not with him full time, I can't think, okay, let's change this and fix this, because I'm not there to kind of see it through all the way. With that specific relationship, a lot of it is just, where are you at? How can we optimize things? I'm always starting with an assessment. Talk to me about what you've been feeling, what you've been going through. We go by every joint. How is this moving? I do passive range of motion. I do a lot of resisted testing to kind of see how muscles are firing. A lot of, like I said, passive range of motion, resisted testing, kind of see what I'm feeling. And sometimes when I'm doing manual treatment, it's like treating, but it's also kind of assessing. Like I'm feeling the tissue and seeing this is a little tender here. Why is that? And then working through, like we work through every level. So yeah, with him, it's a lot of just how do we get you kind of back to a good spot where things are working well. I'll give you some stuff, send you some videos of stuff you can try to maintain it with. And I just hope you do that. Let me know if you have questions.
Yeah.
And then, it's kind of repeat that whether it's mid-season, off-season, right before the season. I meet him where he's at, and then we kind of just go from there. And I would love to get to a point where we can try to fix things. But at this point, it's just kind of, let's clean things up. Let's tune everything up so that you're a well-oiled machine. And I'll see you next time to clean up the mess.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into acupuncture. So you mentioned like that like equation, right? Like when you mix in neurofunctional acupuncture into that. Well, let's start with this. For the listeners that might be new to that concept, like how would you explain neurofunctional acupuncture, and how does it differ from like traditional acu?
It's a different kind of a perspective, I would say. Same tool, not any better or worse, just I use the tool from a different lens. I'm not looking at meridians and those types of things. Valid and accurate, but that's just not how I see it. I'm looking at what nerve and what muscle am I affecting. And it kind of just, it serves as a tool to help depending on what the body needs. Like for example, if someone's coming off surgery, they haven't used a muscle in a while, that nerve hasn't really fired very well. Let's kickstart it, get it going. So you put your acupuncture points in, we stim it. I almost always use electroacupuncture, and we can kickstart and get that nerve firing better. So now when we do exercises, you'll get more out of that exercise because the muscle is firing better. On the flip side, which is what I tend to use it more for, where a lot of things are like a game of imbalances, right? The athlete's still going to perform. They're still going to go and do what they need to do. But sometimes instead of coming off surgery and being kind of like not firing, you have over-firing muscles that are like protecting because there's some type of imbalance. It's a dominant pattern. It's being overused. So we can use the same tool to do a couple points, add the electricity, but now we're fatiguing the nerve. We're stimulating it to a point where the nerve can relax. So sometimes with my hands, I can kind of work on a muscle and it seems a bit better, more relaxed, but as soon as they go to use it, the tension comes right back. Well, it's because the nervous system is on protect mode still. So we can get into that, relax the nervous system, relax the nerve, and now the manual work is more effective. The exercises to reinforce things are more effective. So yeah, that's kind of how I use that tool.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that's great to know that obviously they don't need to be injured or hurt or whatever for it to have an effect, right? Like you're impacting the nervous system regardless of where it's at on that continuum.
Yep.
So when you think about power, like power is essentially how fast and effectively the nervous system can like command the muscle to do that action. So when you think about motor unit recruitment, rate coding, muscular coordination, like all that stuff, can you explain what is happening in the body when you apply like neurofunction acupuncture?
Yeah, like the way I use it, I don't know if I can say it necessarily translates to power, but what I would say is it allows a better functioning muscle or a better functioning system for me to sustain it, you know, like to sustain that firing, to get it working better. And then once we have that foundation of now you have the muscle working, you can use it under load and strength, and you've built that strength, the movement pattern under load, then we can turn it into power. Like I feel like if you're getting that full recruitment and you just go straight to the power, there's a lot of other systems, as you know, like other chains at play when you want to do a high velocity movement. Right. So I kind of use the neurofunctional acupuncture at like a smaller level to put the pieces together. Then you have to build it under load. And then as a full chain, then you can worry about power and all that stuff. That kind of comes later in the sequence, I would say.
Yep. And then what types of movement limitations, pain patterns, performance issues do you commonly use this with, or I guess see improvement with this approach?
Yeah, I use it a lot, so I'm trying to narrow it down to like what's most common. For example, like a common thing we see is knee pain, right? So like an overactive quad, and usually we have to focus a lot on the posterior chain to kick in and get more support. And so kind of relaxing the quad, yeah, we can dig in manually and loosen things up that way, but I find doing the acupuncture through there creates a much longer lasting effect. And then now when we go to do, say, a squat or a hip hinge, where we want that hamstring and glute to be more active, the brain would want to go to the quad because that's just what it's used to doing. But now that we've really fatigued it and we can do those patterns, it's like, now let's really teach your brain to kick in that glute, kick in that hamstring, so that we can start to correct that imbalance a bit better and build more strength in the area we want to.
Yep. And when, for this intervention in particular, like when is it most indicated that you see? Like, is this something you would do like pre-game, or is it something you do post-game, or strictly on like recovery day?
Because the bodies, like I said, bodies don't always respond the same. It depends on the person. There's a couple guys I know who do like it getting treatment before a game. I tend to just be safe and say, let's have some time afterwards for your body to kind of get used to the new state it's in and see how it goes. Because last thing I want is, let's say we stim a certain muscle and it's really sore. Now you're going out there to perform feeling really sore. I want to avoid that. So I tend excuse me, I tend to use it more so post-game, recovery day. Kind of like after you've just went to war and you've got all this mess, let's use it then to clean things up, and then you can go rest and recover. That's kind of where I tend to use it.
Yeah, I like that. And then I know you mentioned this already in terms of like, it doesn't directly translate into like power, right? Like you got to like work into...
It could. I don't use it. Like, that's not my goal with it.
Yeah. How would you say... So you mentioned it could. Like, how would you say that it could translate to on-court outcomes, like explosiveness, agility, consistency under fatigue, things like that?
Well, I would say if you can't be explosive or can't be as quick to a spot, there's usually some type of imbalance, whether there's a muscle that's holding on too tight or a muscle that hasn't been used very well, it's weak. And by getting things firing kind of as a collective chain, that will translate to what you need to do on court. So it's like using the acupuncture at the smaller levels so that when those muscles kick in with the whole system, now you can go be explosive on the court.
I was renewing my RSCC certification through NSCA, and they make you watch like a video, do like this quiz, all that stuff. So one of the videos was from Mike Young, and he talked about how 20% of what we like, something along these lines of 20% of what we do can produce 80% of the results that we want to see, right? So basically just honing in on like, we can stick with the basics and get a lot done with just the basics without having to like, you know, go on Instagram, look at these like crazy exercises, like diving into all that. So
I like that a lot. I try to keep things simple as possible. And I think that works. And sorry, to that 20-80 point. And that's the thing, like with the acupuncture, I'm doing something at a small level. But now when you integrate that into the whole system, you go out there, we get what we want. So, and that's why I say maybe acupuncture doesn't directly create more power, but indirectly by fixing these leaks in the chain, when you go out there, now everything is working.
Yep. And when you think about, so like, again, the NBA guys, like every, like 1% better means the world. Right. So I guess when you start thinking about that extra 20% that you're trying to like improve with a guy like Jamal, like, I guess where are you turning to for that? Like what interventions, not specifically, but like where does the mind go in terms of like, how can I just pour everything into this athlete that I can to get them to that 100%, or to get them at least like that 81st% better?
Right. Yeah, for sure. Like you said, any little bit, well, these guys they're already at such a high performing level. Any little advantage, any little thing is going to go a long way. So it's just, how can I make it so when he's out there doing his thing, he doesn't have to worry about his knee. He doesn't have to think about that hamstring or think about that shin, whatever it is. If I can just clear that little nervous awareness of that stuff, suddenly he's more free to do whatever he wants. He's not even thinking about it. So that's where I come in, and I use, like I said, we spend a lot of time to a lot of body work so that if he doesn't have to think about those little aches or little tweaks or little pains anymore, he can go just be as free as he wants to be.
Yeah. And again, so many variables to consider. Because the psychological factor is huge, right? So return to play, like anything, like such a big factor. So, no, that's great, man. I want to also talk about entrepreneurship, right? So again, for those listening, whether you have goals of getting into entrepreneurship or not, like I want to highlight that because it's something that you've done early on, and it's something that you've now grown and have gotten to like a high level. So I guess just talk about, you've already mentioned like why you wanted to get into it and not being comfortable in those like clinics that you were in before. But like what motivates you to keep staying in this space and to keep growing this business? Because you've grown it. I saw it when it started and it had only a few connections, and now it is what it is. So talk about like the pursuit to keep going, and then also like I guess the rewarding aspect of it.
For sure. No, once like I said earlier, it kind of was birthed out of frustration, like frustration with what I was seeing. I just kind of got pushed into it, and this wasn't always the goal, like I said. And I think just honestly, a lot of what I'm doing is I talk about my calling, because my dream was to be in the NBA, and as you know, I held that. Like I had the offer from OKC, and I could have worked in the NBA, and I was so torn up about it because I held my dream, but then it didn't feel like how I thought it was supposed to feel, or how I think it should have felt finally having the dream. And you told me to pray on it, and I did, and I felt like my calling was to go in this direction. And a lot of that is just kind of having a trust and a faith in God, and knowing like what he wants, what God wants for me is not necessarily what I'm going to want. And through my own prayer and conversations, I know that no one can tell me I'm not in the league anyways. And no one can tell me I'm not working at that level anyways, because I'm doing it in my own way. And yeah, like I have to trust that if that is really meant for me, it'll circle back around at some point. And if not, that's okay, because I'm just trying to do where I'm called to go. And I think entrepreneurship is hard. It's not for everybody. Like, there's a lot of lows. I'm taking hits daily, to be honest, but it becomes so fulfilling when I see that athlete or that person go from, you know, a preteen to a teenager to a grown adult, and they're doing their thing and seeing where they take it. That joy I get from seeing that growth. Like I'm big on human connection and seeing people grow. If you're in pursuit of something and I can help you, I want to help you. Seeing them make it, like if that grade 9 kid wants to make his team and we're talking about things, we're training, we're treating, and they make it, that joy, like that makes it worth all the hits. And like, even I just mentioned, my guy Xavier Ocho just signed to go to Spain. Like when he hit me with that message, I was just so overjoyed, and it made my whole day, my whole week. I was so happy. And like those wins, knowing you were a part of that journey, it makes it all worth it in the end. So I think I'm being called to impact my community, my people, and now my team. Now that I've, like you said, we've more than doubled the team since you were here, and I want to serve them. And I think just following what I'm called to do and knowing like I can impact a lot of people in my time here, that's why I keep going.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. That's all the questions I have. That's all the questions I have. But I think the key takeaway, in my opinion, honestly, is like the mindset towards people, helping people first, seeing them as people first, right? And again, for those listeners with goals and aspirations of working with these guys, it's like, just treat them like people. Yeah. Just treat them like genuinely like people. Yeah. And you should be in a great spot. But man, appreciate you, brother. Man. Appreciate you. This was great. Perfect.
No, thank you, man. Appreciate you being here and having me.
That's great. Dope. Cool.